Talk about multi-talented. This is amazing. All that he's doing. I don't know how he does it. My gosh. They say he's busy, but let me tell you something. Mr. Spectacular Jessie Godderz is ultra busy. Thank you so much, Jessie. Whacked Out Sports, #1 thing. I mean, that's been on Fox for a while. Such a cool show, such a fun show. And now you're going to be hosting this thing. Tell us about it.
Yeah, well, it's a complete rebrand, so it's definitely going to be a TV show. We're super excited for it. We got 2 whacked out crew correspondents and stuff. I'll be hosting it, kind of like, I mean, everybody's already probably seen it, you know what I'm saying? But we're just trying to rebrand it, put it into present day, obviously 2022, 2023 era of it, you know, with the super fun, quick clips that are fun, entertaining. Obviously, people are eating it. So the clips are going to be awesome, and just intros, outros. I'm stoked for it. But first, I mean, that intro that you just gave me was, I mean, it made me excited. I feel like you should almost be like a manager, if you will. So I appreciate that. I wish I had that every time I walked inside of a room, to be completely honest with you. So that's epic. So, but yeah.
Okay, so Jessie, I give you permission to save it. You can use it whenever you want. I give you permission. There it is, right there. Don't worry about any copyrights, any royalties. I don't want any of that. You got it. But Jessie, this is just so cool for you, because for me, I remember your days with Impact Wrestling, and you're getting with the Bromans, with now Robbie E, or now Mr. Stone, and just, yeah, doing your thing there. It was just a cool time for you. But to see how you progress from there, Big Brother on CBS, all the different things you're doing. You got so many things coming up. You could talk about the book and all the comics and things you're doing with Al Snow, and Ohio Valley Wrestling, and all the great things that's going on there. So for you, just want to talk about, we'll get with Impact Wrestling, but first with Whacked Out Sports, how did this all come about for you?
So I did another project with the guys, Jason and Anthony, and just through connections. Obviously, you throughout life, throughout, you know, people's careers, respectfully, you partner up with people that you want to pretty much, you can stand, you know, or be around, or enjoy, obviously, spending your time with. And once you find good people in the industry, like, you gravitate towards them, but they also propose and pitch their name for other ideas or other opportunities that you have. You kind of touch base on Big Brother. And it's the fact, I mean, that happened way back in 2008, you know, and then 2009, the season's so nice. They named it first twice with season 11. I was able to come back on that. And then obviously been inside everybody's homes on a network, and the biggest, you know, mega show over the summer across the country. And then obviously in other countries as well. With that fame, been able to parlay it into, like you said, Impact Wrestling. But now with Whacked Out, I'm a host. I've been a host before on ESPN through CAWL To Arms. That was a collegiate arm wrestling show. And you also touched base on the fact that the comic book's going to be coming out in a little bit, and still juggling the schedule with OVW. Our OVW wrestling tour that we had over the summer was intense. There was a lot of dates and stuff like that, and it definitely tied me up. But when it came to touching base with these guys, it was just another thing that throughout the journey, you know what I'm saying? Enjoy the journey, not the destination. So it was something where I was able to partake in one of their other projects, and yeah, this opened up, and I'd reached out to him and I said, hey, I'd like to throw my hat into the ring too. What do you guys think? And it was just like the Cinderella story where the shoe fit, you know, and it felt good, and everybody felt warm and cozy. And I was able to meet a handful of the guys that are going to be crew correspondents as well. Those guys are absolutely phenomenal. So the entire team that they've been able to assemble is stellar. You know, everybody's got a great story. Everybody already has a fan following and stuff. Ryan Decker has, I think it was like a 19 million follower, or not followers, but at least views on some of his videos that he's just doing just outlandish things, you know, on motorized scooters and mopeds and car caddies and porta pot. It's just the whole nine. So obviously it's very out there, and the clips are going to be phenomenal. So, but yeah, just through the journey, man, much like yourself.
The journey and hosting for ESPN, that's very, what a kudo to you to be able to put that on your resume as well. And I'm curious, Jesse, for things like that, do you go to broadcasting type school? Do you go to acting school too in your journey and go through that whole process? And even for Whacked Out Sports, did you have to go for several tryouts and actually try out and have them show clips and you do something and go through that process?
Well, all of the promos, the wrestling expertise and background definitely helps, because those videos and clips speak for themselves, which is live television. You know, you can't edit, retake, or do any of those. And I think it was just the trust that they have in me due to the fact of our previous, you know, interaction and business relationship that we've had thus far. And then just being, whether it's the best candidate or the only candidate, I'll take it. It's not what you know, it's who you know. That's for sure. And then there's YouTube University. You can look up almost everything on YouTube and try to hone your skills and whatnot. But it's almost like an AFV, Alfonso type of hosting, intros, outros, and buttons and things like that to kind of bring in the clips and out the clips and stuff. So I'm excited for it. I'm still going to be able to be myself and have fun with it. So I just got to make it my own, if that makes sense.
I'm going to read this, Jesse. Whacked Out TV LLC, the parent company of Whacked Out Sports, has partnered with production and distribution leader StreamGo Media for the development of a brand new series titled Whacked Out. The series will star CBS Big Brother and OVW wrestling superstar Jessie Godderz, Mr. PEC-Tacular. I added that part, by the way. So as its host, set for release in early 2023. Joining Jesse will be his Whacked Out correspondents, who you mentioned, viral sketch comedian Ryan Decker, and famed Hollywood stuntman Jason Gupton. Together, they will be showcasing stunts, sketch comedy, amateur action sports, fail videos, and viewer-submitted acts of whacked out craziness. Such a cool thing. A lot of people have seen it, but some may have not. This is going to be a really cool thing and all. And Jesse, when you're listening to that and being involved with something like that, and you see at your point of your career now, so much more to do. But what have you thought about your journey so far?
Yeah, everything. It obviously goes into just being at the right place at the right time, but also knowing the right people that their project finally takes off, that they've been working on, you know, for not only like 1-2 years, but it could be all the way up to like 10 years before they finally actually catch a break as well. And a network actually wants to put some legs underneath one of the projects that they've actually had in the pipeline for the longest time. So just being able to be in the exact same breath of air when they're not only proposing it, but also being in the show treatments and stuff like that, to be a name on that paper, to then be able to have it come to fruition like this, it's outstanding. You know what I mean? And this one, there's a lot of other things like the sponsorship by MuscleTech as well that I couldn't have foreseen. That's just, you know, continuing to promote stuff through social media. And then just the internet is a crazy, crazy tool. You know, like you can be inside a billionaire's pocket because they're posting on a daily basis, and you can have the knowledge from somebody that's definitely very well off in one facet in life when it comes to financially. But for me in this aspect, it's something where I try to surround myself and continue educating myself, and the content that I'm being exposed to is at a next level. Because that's going to reflect in the work, in the body of work that I'm obviously showcasing in present day. And then the sky's the limit, you know, because I could have never predicted that this is an opportunity that was going to be bestowed upon me, but it's something that I definitely want to be able to take the reins of and be the leader of, you know, and then make it my own, because it's definitely going to be what we put into it. You know, it's a huge opportunity, especially with the rebranding of it. That's already has such a, you know, a legacy thus far. You know, it started in 2006, you know, and it's been on Fox. So the branding's already there. It's just a rebranding and revamping of it that's going to be what we make of it. So I'm stoked. And those guys are bringing stuff to the table too. So don't think, I mean, Jason and Ryan both are going to be phenomenal additions. And we're just going along for the ride. And I'm definitely excited for everybody to watch it, because it's going to be phenomenal.
And when I'm reading that and I'm thinking and I'm hearing about stuntman, sports, athleticism, all the craziness, right there, three components of professional wrestling. I'm thinking right there, professional wrestling provides so much with you athletes, and you are athletes.
Oh,
and
yeah.
So many different things, the acting, the stunt work, the physicality, the entertainment. It's just a hodgepodge of everything that comes in the entertainment business and the sports business. So I just think when you're getting started in something like this, Jesse, way back when, did you even think like, okay, I'm going to be a professional wrestler, but wow, there's so many aspects of it that now I'm all going to be involved in?
There is definitely some like cross pollination. There's definitely a lot of crossover talent and things that you can obviously hone. Obviously professional wrestling and the acting, or the overacting, if you will. I'm a huge Jim Carrey fan. So, and I almost guarantee you can kind of see that in a couple of my mannerisms. Yeah, I know. I've seen that exactly. It's beautiful. Finkel is Einhorn, Einhorn is Finkel, Finkel's a man, you know, like the whole 9 yards. So but there's so many things, you know, it's like, really? No, but what he was able to do and the influence that he had, you know, on myself, not only being a professional wrestler, but it's like there's also a space for that in acting as well. And there's also going to be an element of that as a host, you know, as well. And there's going to be, but that's just me. Like, I've taken everything that obviously all the medals that I've acquired, you know, and I've melted them down, and I am who I am as of right now because of all the tools that I've accrued. So, and you couldn't be even more spot on with exactly what a professional wrestler is. We're our own stuntmen. We're our own cooks, nutritionists, you know, dietitianists, personal trainers, managers, promoters. We're salesmen. You know, at the end of the day, we're trying to sell something. Like, we're all of it, actors, stuntmen. You know, we're all of these things that have to be embodied in one thing for you as a professional wrestler to even be taking off, because I need to be able to take my brand and input it into whatever federation that obviously feels as though they're going to be able to benefit and make money off of me as a character, as a brand for their company. So I have to be able to bring that to the table from day one and to the end of the actual contract. It's the same exact way with all these projects as well. But the more projects you actually have and can showcase all your abilities, and I think everybody sees that and they know that this definitely has legs. Because like you said, the guys over at StreamGo, Jason and Anthony, we talk on a, you know, almost like a 3-day basis, you know, about everything. And they want me to be as involved as possible and make it my own. So I'm stoked for it. Like, these guys have been phenomenal since day one.
And you mentioned too about live television. I think that's where professional wrestlers don't get as much credit as they should. When you're doing that live TV, you got one chance and that's it. And you don't want to do too much impromptu. You got to follow along what's going on, but there is some impromptu involved, which is another character trait that a pro wrestler has to have. It's just so great. And I want to go here with the name Mr. PEC-Tacular, because I just think that's one of the best names, and it fits you so well. To people that don't know Jesse, just the physique, the health and fitness, it is what he is, what he embodies. So Jesse, is that your creation? Was that an Al Snow creation? Was it a combined process creation?
So it was actually me and one of my other friends. We tried to embody, exactly, perfect word for it, myself and my character with one word. And we were throwing all these words around with trying to do something when it came to my actual physique and what I've been able to just construct physically, you know, because obviously I have to tote around my profession on my shoulders. It's a burden, but somebody's got to do it, and I'll do it. I'll ride that horse. But the fact is, yeah, we came across the word spectacular. We took off the S. I don't even know what the other words were that we were even trying to kick around, but none of them were as good as this one. So, and that was the birth of it. It was actually announced on Big Brother when Lydia was pretty much having a funeral for me with Shima and everybody else that was around the dinner table on there. And that's when it actually took off and had legs and stuff. So by the time that all happened in 2009 on Big Brother 11, it was off to the races. So.
Well, with OVW, you have accomplished quite a bit in your professional wrestling career, and especially with Ohio Valley Wrestling. And you've been an OVW National Heavyweight Champion, OVW Television Champion, OVW Champion, OVW Southern Tag Team Champion several times. And to see that and to see you flourish is just a credit to you and credit to what you're doing. What are your thoughts about OVW Wrestling and currently starring as the face of the new OVW Wrestling, which airs on the national cable TV networks YTA, Next Level Sports, Game Plus, the Action Channel, and Astound TV Network, as well as on the digital platform, hey, Mike Weber, Fight TV.
Exactly. It's a product. It's a product that we're trying to obviously take to another level. There was a school at OVW, and we're trying to kind of like shake the dust off, shake the dirt off the boots, and say, hey, like those are two completely separate things. I actually came in a couple of years ago now at this point. There was a handful of different owners at the time, Chad Miller, as well as Al Snow. Since then, Craig Greenberg and Matt Jones, Jeff Tublin have come in to help Al, and other people are making their way out, and they had a completely different vision when it came to what they were going to prioritize, as well as the summer tour that I just talked about as well. That was awesome. I mean, the crowds and the TV product definitely was reflective when it came to the attendance at the house shows as well. And the storylines are phenomenal. So if you take our actual product of professional wrestling and compare it to others, you're going to get everything. Whether it's the tag team, the girls that are actually wrestling, the different characters, and that is what you can actually sink your teeth into. There's so much that's invested in each one of us as characters, and that's much rooted as opposed to just being a facade and just, putting lipstick on a pig and somebody going out there under a mask or something that wouldn't make sense. Like, these are characters that have been groomed and that actually go out there doing the exact same character work that coincides with their personality. That's being showcased, every single Thursday, like you said, on the Fight app. And it's phenomenal because that's why our fan following and the actual positioning of OVW is continuing to move up, and we're getting talked about with NWA and Ring of Honor and, Impact Wrestling, and we're having cross promotion and cross pollination when it comes to their talent coming into OVW. And then James Storm is there as well as of right now too. I mean, it's across the board. But yes, I was the first ever national OVW heavyweight champion for 522 days. I'm just saying, it was like 500. It was 522. So
522, and it could have been 5,022. I mean, that's it right there.
Yeah, exactly.
It's so cool. We'll touch about a couple other subjects that I want to talk to you about, but I really also want to delve into this because when you were at Impact Wrestling, that was an earlier part of your career, Total Nonstop Action Wrestling. You were a TNA World Tag Team Champion twice with Robbie E.
Yep.
And also you were involved in the TNA Turkey Bowl. Hey. And TNA World Cup with Jeff Hardy, Eddie Edwards, Robbie E, and Jade. Very cool. What have you learned, and where were you at that time of your career, being in TNA, Total Nonstop Action Wrestling, and just what was Jessie back then, and how do we compare Jessie back then to Jessie today?
I mean, in every profession, I think you continue to actually educate yourself. It doesn't matter, even if you're at the elite level. I guarantee you there's NFL football players or NBA basketball players that are still trying to hone their craft to be that 1% better, much like what Kobe Bryant, and even a fraction of that 1%. It could be 0.01% because there's a 1% of the 1%, that are the highest grossing earners. There's a Hulk Hogan on the card. Like, that's where you need to be. You need to be the draw for you to be appealing and pretty much for the contracts to reflect what your net worth is going to be, So when I was at TNA Impact Wrestling, it was awesome because I was with a group of guys that were like-minded, that were my age, and I was having fun. Like, it was so much fun, but it was a job too. So there was a high stress level to that because that was what was paying the bills, so if you got hurt or if you messed up, if you acted as opposed to reacted and it looked honky or wonky or whatever the case may be, which to my knowledge, like sincerely, never happened with Robbie and myself because it was so organic, and talk about a phenomenal talent. Robbie Eve is definitely that, you know what I mean? And so is Zima, you know, Mike, DJ Z, if you will. But that's why that whole production continued to grow, and we could obviously keep adding fuel to the fire, and they kept letting us and giving us a bigger budget and having more things because of what we were actually transforming our entire shtick into, you know, especially on air. So when it came to everything, and that's why we were doing the Tokyo, Japan tours, and like going overseas and being able to be a part of all of that stuff. But from that to where I'm at now, obviously, there's been a couple years that have passed, and you don't know what you don't know, you know. And with professional wrestling, like you could wrestle 5,000 matches, but then it's 501 or 5,001 where you actually are like, oh, another light bulb went off, you know. Or if you're constantly showing up to work, you don't realize the compound effect of the same discipline that you've obviously showcased week after week after year, and who you've actually honed your craft or your character into being, you know, with people being even more invested just because of you know, you being on air for so long. And I think at the tail end of my stint at Impact, and then also the storyline that I was going through, people were really excited about what was going on. And then obviously I'm showcasing that and being able to bring it over to OVW, especially with the product that's being reflective in my body of work as well. So people definitely come to me more so when it comes to different show ideas. And I look at it from a TV aspect. Like, we're TV characters that are going to be televised and on air. You need to wrap your mind around that first. Like, that is, granted, it's sports entertainment, but you're on television. What you're doing on television needs to stop somebody from flipping the channel and watch you. That's why I'm the face of all these networks, because whatever I got going on here is definitely appealing to mainstream viewers across the country, nationally, on national networks, on other platforms, on streaming platforms, on all of those apps that you said, and all those outlets, with all the projects that I'm being a part of. Like, I'm undeniable, if you will. You know what I mean? Make yourself so good that they can't say no. And that's where I'm at right now. And I'm trying to definitely instill that into the talent at OVW, and they're being receptive to it. And that's also through the vehicle of Al, who beats it like a dead horse, telling the same monotonous things over and over again to continue to hone themselves and their character. Because when you come in as a professional wrestler, you're like a deer in the headlights. Like, who am I? I'm a wrestler and I can do 9 different moves. And it's just like, well, now you have to construct a match that would actually make sense for your character, such as Ray Finkel over there in the number 5 jersey behind you. You know what I'm saying? So you got to get people to sink their teeth into your character, and that's where I'm trying to excel and put the gas to the pedal to the metal, if you will.
And Jesse, a couple things. First of all, Robbie E and Zima, I mean, both in NXT, they're doing great things. You're doing great things. To see you guys progress even back then and say, hey, what are these guys going to do? And look at what you guys have been able to do. And I think a lot of that has to transcend to the entertainment aspect, and you guys getting it. It clicks. Look, you can go in there and teach. You can go in there and teach me how to take a body slam or how to bounce off the ropes. Obviously, I can't do all the athletic things, but you can teach a person to do a couple of things. But really, it's more about, how do you connect with that audience? How do you get them, like you said, to keep watching you, keep watching that match, that storyline, that angle? And I think with Al Snow being there at OVW, that is just awesome. Al Snow, what a great mind, what a great teacher, what a calming. When you think of coaches in all of sports, I think Al Snow fits right up there with them and all. It just, the way you're able to teach, the way you're able to lead a team and do that, he just embodies that. And now, and I want to go to this because we can talk about Al a little bit, but you're a celebrity spokesperson for the awesome sports supplement brand MuscleTech. There's another hat for you, and that fits right into your DNA, which is awesome. And you have a brand new Mr. PEC-Tacular comic book coming out soon from Broken Icon Comics as part of the Adventures of Al Snow and Head series, starring, of course, who we mentioned, WWE legend, ECW original, and also OVW leader Al Snow. Tell us about the comic book and a little more about Al, and we'll do a couple more things and we'll wrap it up, and thank you.
Yeah. So first and foremost, like MuscleTech has been a company that's, I mean, it's iconic, you know, and it's literally world renowned. Like everybody across the entire planet knows of MuscleTech. They have a couple other sister companies and stuff, but the fact of the matter is, when I actually first, it's almost like the same question of like what got you into professional wrestling is also kind of like what got me into bodybuilding and looking into trying to go work out as well. Like these guys are larger than life. The guys that like Jay Cutler that were sponsored by MuscleTech in 2004, 2005, when I was going into the mall, going to the newspaper and magazine section of the, you know, Barnes and Noble or whatever it was at the time, at the bookstore. That's what it was. The first inside Mason City, Iowa, the first store on the left was the bookstore. And pulled in there and then saw all these just guys that look like Clydesdale horses, you know, with muscles protruding out of everywhere. You know what I'm talking about? Like these Clydesdales that when they just walk, you can see every striation of every single muscle fiber they have in their body. And it's just amazing. I, as a natural professional athlete, knew that I wasn't going to be able to accrue literally like over 100 to 150 pounds worth of my actual muscle mass and be able to carry that at about the same height. But these guys were doing it in the sense of having the discipline, and these were the supplements that they were taking at the time. And MuscleTech was one of them. There's other ones that were obviously the top ones as well, but it has been ingrained, you know, and seared in my mind. So to come to present day and have the opportunity to work with that company, it's a dream come true that I didn't even know about actually having, if that makes any sense. Because of course, when everybody starts working out, you want to be sponsored. Like, oh, that's just what you want to do. You want to have somebody like giving you free stuff, and like that's what you think about. And then you want to try getting paid and this, that, and the other thing. But to me, it's like way more than that, because these companies, this specific company in particular, was a company that I looked up to that were in these, like, before, you know, social media. And now everything being online, there was hard copies, people. There was magazines back in the day, and that's what they actually advertised in. And that's what I actually saw. And now I'm a part of that company, and I couldn't be happier. I couldn't be more proud. And like from the bottom of my heart, it actually fills it substantially. It's even crazier that in present day right now, with all these other things that are going on, I'm being able to represent a company such as MuscleTech and be a part of it and be a celebrity spokesperson. And it sincerely means a lot. And I know I go into that, but I really lean into that because I'm sincere about it. As it comes to the comic book with Al.
Poor Jesse, I want to add something to that. So people know, because your bodybuilding background is also incredible. And you were the youngest natural pro bodybuilder in the U.S. through the NANBF and the WNBF. So I wanted to throw that out there as well, as you're proudly, as you should, talk about that. And we can go into the comic book now. Thank you.
You know, and thank you for that, like sincerely. So through the NANBF, which is North American Natural Bodybuilding Federation, I turned pro and then was now a competitor in the WNBF, which is World Natural Bodybuilding Federation. And to me, when I first started, everybody was accusing me of taking PEDs, performance enhancing drugs, and this, that, and the other thing, because if I can't do it, nobody can. And everybody that was around me in my small town had that syndrome. If I can't do it, nobody can. So with me having results that were uncharacteristic of what they were getting, doing, you know, maybe the same amount of effort, but not, because I knew what I was putting into my body. I didn't have, my first year of college, I didn't gain the freshman 15 of beer and pizza weight. I actually gained it in muscle, because I was reading those magazines. Like, you know what I mean? I was being influenced by what I could find in present day in 2004, 2005 to help change and mold who I was in between my ears, because me conditioning and training my actual mind to then eat different things, as opposed to coming from a family of 5 that's very carb heavy when it comes to food, because that's what's more cost effective, because steaks cost way more than rice, you know? So when mom's cooking for 5 people, she's making, you know, oatmeal, pasta, rice, and all of these things that are carb heavy to fill everybody up, as opposed to buying steaks, you know, fish, chickens, eggs, all of these other things that are high protein. So when I got out of my house, moved into for myself and started changing the way I ate, the results actually followed. And that was my first.
Jesse, like a good Iowa mom would, though.
Yes. Yes. No, absolutely. Meat and potatoes all day. And like we did what we could. So 100%. Couldn't agree more. But that was where that quick change actually happened. So and maybe I had a little bit of a growth spurt at 18, 19 years old with the food that I was actually consuming now. So with it being more lean cuts and actual meat, but because of the negative attention, but also the positive attention, because like girls were like drawn to it. And I was just like, oh man, there's really something to this working out. It was a healthy lifestyle. I then parlayed that into trying to find the most prestigious natural bodybuilding federation I possibly could, as close as I possibly could to where I was living. And that's why, even the NANBF has such a close spot in my life and in my heart too. And then through the WNBF, which is still here. I mean, these guys are having phenomenal shows across the country and around the world with healthy, natural athletes as well. You know, because when you see people step up on stage, that's supposed to be the epitome of health and perfection, and really those are some of the unhealthiest, like dehydrated human beings at that exact time when they're taking those photos. So it's really tough, and it's definitely a mental challenge, but I was able to parlay that obviously in the sport of professional wrestling, and it's a lot easier to come from the world of bodybuilding and go into professional wrestling than it is to come from professional wrestling and try to look good, such as a bodybuilder, because it doesn't go both ways, if that makes sense. And many have tried, and everybody that's a professional wrestler, I almost guarantee you, works out, and they don't have the same results as me, obviously.
Again, Jesse, to that point too, when you're going from bodybuilding to pro wrestling, what are your aspirations at that point? Was it to help your bodybuilding career, or was it that you wanted to get more involved and try to get involved in TV?
Yeah, so definitely the latter. So I knew, The Miz was actually the inspiration, because I believe in 2008, he was facing John Cena for WrestleMania that exact year. I took the fame and notoriety from Big Brother, and I wanted to parlay that into actual career with what I've already been able to draw, and elicit true emotion out of the fans that were watching Big Brother that already knew who I was, take my physique, and then parlay that into the world of professional wrestling. There was a lot of hurdles and a lot of obstacles and a lot of resistance from other professional wrestlers that only wanted to be professional wrestlers, if that makes sense. But as we can see, there's more than one way to skin a cat. There's YouTube stars now that are being almost main event draws. Who knew? And if you want to look at Floyd Mayweather and Conor McGregor, those are the two biggest draws. And why is it? Because people can sink their teeth into the characters that they actually are, because they've done enough. They've been around enough to do enough interviews and promos and tape packages that people can invest in who they are as a character. You know, so win, lose, or draw, people want to see them win. People want to see them get their teeth kicked in, or people just want to see them, you know, and I want to have that same emotion that I can elicit from people. And it doesn't matter what platform that might be. But in the world of professional wrestling, I think the handcuffs are kind of getting a little bit more freed up with the way social media is. And they're drawing people that are, you know, Division I athletes and Olympic wrestlers and guys that, you know, are 7'9", you know, like these people are just anomalies and like wonders of the world, if you will, when it comes to the Cirque du Soleil that's now being performed inside a wrestling ring, when back in the day, it was characters that were the draw, and they were punch, kicking, and choking, you know, and doing legit shoot holds that Al will tell you about, you know what I mean? So, and just to touch base on Al alone, he did the gut checks and also the reality TV series to kind of weed out the individuals through the WWE. I forget what that series was called.
Was it the Tough Enough series?
Exactly what it was. Yep, for Tough Enough. So Al has been not only a judge, but a coach in almost every single platform on every, you know, major federation when it comes to it. And his mind is of that was conditioned by wrestlers that made money in the business. There's other professional wrestling coaches and trainers that have never made money and never been on television. Why would you listen to these individuals and then try to become a professional wrestler? It blows my mind. It's astounding. Us as human beings, we're not trees. You can move to where the opportunity is. And if this is something that you actually want to do, when I saw Ric Flair in Gold's Gym Venice, that's when I asked him right after that first year of being on Big Brother, when I had that fame and I was still kind of hot. I said, I saw Ric Flair of all people in Gold's Gym Venice. And I said, Rick, I want to get into professional wrestling. What do I do? He said, move to Florida, go to FCW. Literally by February of 2009, I was out there. But then the summer of 2009, I was back on Big Brother again, you know? So I already started my professional wrestling career, and everything just started snowballing. And that's where I say the compound effect and moving to where the opportunity is. So, and then now still that's long-winded, just encapsulating the MuscleTech stuff. But when it comes to the Broken Icons comic book, something that Al already had, obviously, you know, Eric is one of the guys that partnered up with Al, has this phenomenal, he's done it with Chavo Guerrero as well. And this comic actually has myself included in it. And it's just crazy. It's awesome. You know, like when you're a professional wrestler, you want a couple things. You know, you want your own action figure. You want to be in video games, much like, you know, NFL football guys. They're like, oh, how high is my speed? And what's this look like? And whatnot. It's like, I legitimately look like an action figure. And like, besides myself, Bobby Lashley, Rob Terry, obviously, you know, Ultimate Warrior, and a handful of other guys. It's like, we actually look like the action figures and the guys on the video games that you want to like actually select and be. You know, I'm the top 1% of the 1% here, all the while doing and wearing all these other hats, trying to be the Renaissance man that you're trying to put me over to be. So I appreciate that. But when it comes to the comic book, the photos are awesome. That's what I'm getting at. I'm trying to touch base and saying, you guys got to see the photos and the artistry and the sketches and the color. It's awesome. It's astounding, sincerely.
I think the comic book even is a step higher than the action figure. It's just so amazing, because you think of comic books, you think of superheroes and villains. And when you think of pro wrestling, what do you think of? Superheroes and villains.
100%.
It's just such a nice match with that. And it's just that's going to be so cool. And it's just great that Mr. Spectacular is a comic book star, a comic book man. He is spectacular. That is so cool. Hey, we're going to wrap this up. I want to just read a couple more things, because I always think these are very cool, and going over the history. And you mentioned it before, seeing yourself on so many different outlets, so many different TV channels, big, medium, small, streaming, so many different streaming types, attention that you bring to the streaming services and that are out there. You could probably list 1,000 that you've been on and involved in. It's just so amazing. Hey, 8-time Emmy-nominated series Tainted Dreams and the Amazon series New Dog, Old Tricks. You were part of that. You had a fun experience as Summertime Santa on CBS The Talk. You mentioned hosting the ESPN College Arm Wrestling Series, CAWL, which I thought was a cool name, CAWL, CAWL To Arms. And it's just so interesting. And then, but here's where I want to go next, so we can wrap this up. But you also were part of a music video that you did with Jeff Timmons from 98 Degrees called The Girl Is With Me. I think that's so great.
What a guy.
My favorite is, which I think when I heard this, I thought, oh, this is perfect. This is perfect for Mr. Spectacular. Guest appearance on CBS, The Young and the Restless.
I know. All of it. Look at that, man. You're just digging up all the sweet nuggets. Like, first off, Jeff Timmons from 98 Degrees. What a guy, man. From start to finish, true professional, like literally, like I can't say any higher recommendations. If anybody ever gets a chance to work with him, like, he's a businessman too. Like, don't think that he, like, those guys might have, I mean, obviously, you know, like the Dip and the whatnot, but they've completely revitalized like all of those bands, you know, and him being a part of it with 98 Degrees and revamping it. Like, I couldn't even get like a text message back because he was on tour like almost immediately after that. So he fit that in right before he took off again. And it's, I God bless that man, sincerely. Like, he's a phenomenal asset to everything. But what you're saying with everything,
Jesse, like you mentioned 98 Degrees, and then I'm thinking, like, even back then, before that, even NSYNC and Backstreet Boys. I mean, they're all going on tour. They're all touring. It's phenomenal with that and all. But geez, were you a big music fan? I'm not even just 98 Degrees. Were you big into music, or just how does something like that work out?
A
Video.
Fun fact, yes. Not only was I in choir in high school, I was in swing choir. So I was doing the theatrics, doing the swinging around girls, because guess what? The ladies were in and took part in that extracurricular activity. So I myself was in there too. And that was also the very moment when I was in choir. I remember hanging my arm over the back of the chair, and I was hanging it over. And have you ever like done that where you kind of cut the circulation off, or the circulation gets cut off and like your veins start popping out and whatnot? I mean, I'm in high school and I actually flexed, and like one of the girls was like, ooh. And I was like, well, what do you mean, ooh? And I was like, oh, you like, oh, ooh. And I was like, oh man, there's something to this muscle deal. And I just had like a little, it was just a little egg before. I'm saying like an egg, like an actual little chicken egg, but now it's about the size of a girl's softball, or maybe a basketball. But they're there now. They're there now for sure. We got that pegged, but that was the birth of it too. There's a lot of influencing moments and little nuggets throughout life that actually inspired who I am today and whatnot. But that was definitely one of them, coming from music. So absolutely.
That is just so cool. And then The Young and the Restless, what was that like? I mean, a lot of girls, but men too. When they're in college, they're all watching soap operas. Everybody's watching soap operas. If you're not watching pro wrestling soap operas, you're watching the daily soap operas. What was it like for you? And what did your family think? The great Iowa family think when they see their son Jesse on CBS's The Young and the Restless?
Elated. Like, my mom's still mad that she doesn't already have, well, first and foremost, doesn't have the comic book yet, because like she thought she was going to have this well before anybody, and it ever hit newsstands or was even made available and whatnot. So she's very upset about that. So Mama Godderz is definitely trying to get her hands on one of those, cop one. But when it comes to everything else, like I mean, they're all in awe, because we're all along for the ride and stuff. And I'm just trying to enjoy the journey, because humble beginnings for sure. Because to look back on things and what they were and what I'm trying to turn things into, it's a long, long road to hoe. So for where we're at now, and the fact that they're still in that small town in Iowa, to your point. So being able to see, they don't see me as much as they'd like, but they see me through all of the projects, if that makes sense. And we talk about them and go over them all, and I give her experiences. And then she friend requests the people and all the parties that are on any of the projects through Facebook, I'm sure. And she's one of those moms for sure, but it's cool.
So is it fair to say you're the most famous person from Rudd, Iowa now?
I would hope so. Unfortunately, and this is crazy, a tornado ripped through our actual small town and literally took our little library out. And that's crazy, because that was our bus stop way back when in Rudd. And it had like some photos that the librarian actually wanted that I sent and submitted over to him and whatnot. Because I can't imagine what it would be like being a kid in Rudd, Iowa, knowing and seeing like somebody such as myself as a kid, and then seeing somebody make it and get out of that small town, or just and turning life into what I have. So it'd be pretty cool. But yeah, it's I would say that's pretty fair to say, maybe. I would think so. There's a couple other people from my area, one of which was actually was on Big Brother, Chelsea, I think it's season 8 or something like that, but was from Mason City, Iowa, where the JUCO school that I went to. But definitely.
Small town boy makes it, big time dreams, and realizing them. That's the way to go. Spectacular, Mr. Spectacular. And I'll let you end with whatever you want to end, but I first have to do this, of course. Finkel is Einhorn.
Einhorn is Finkel. There it is. No, absolutely.
Yes, I was hoping for that. That was perfect. See that? We didn't coach this. We didn't talk we were going to do that. He knows. He's Jim Carrey-esque. That's it right there. But Jesse, tell us just whatever you want to close with. If you want to do your social media or anything else, go ahead. The floor is yours. Thank you so much.
Well, I mean, first and foremost, everybody at StreamGo, Anthony and Jason both, like, thank you so much for the tremendous opportunity. The guys over at MuscleTech, like, all of these things, I'm living a dream right now, just to my scale, if that makes any sense. So it makes all the world a difference to myself and keeps pushing me. But I hope whoever I can influence to be a better person. I'm trying to hone who I am, especially like, as I'm sure, you know, going through the decades of life, you look back and you're like, oh man, in my 20s, I was doing this. And in my 30s, I was doing this. And that's just where I'm at right now. So I'm super excited for the person that I'm going to be turning into. And it's because of all these projects that I'm able to have self-reflection and continuing to hone myself and put out the best products we possibly can. And I think everybody's elated for it too. So across the board, but yeah, on social media, everything's Mr. PEC-Tacular. There's no way you can miss me. There's blue checks everywhere. So you're completely fine there. Reach out to me on LinkedIn if you have business ideas, because we're trying to make this mind a business mind as well. And yeah, thank you for everything, man. I appreciate your time. Thank you for all the support thus far, and especially throughout my wrestling career. I personally wanted to thank you too. So thank you sincerely for that. So we'll see what happens, but big things, definitely big things. Let's go. Whacked out. Whacked out.